Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. My name is Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, a Nassau Community College student. And today we're shining the spotlight on a nonprofit organization that helps people on Long Island that have gone through some pretty tough situations.
That's right, Bill. Today we're going to be learning about the Safe Center in Bethpage, who provides comprehensive services to victims of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and human trafficking. And
joining us today is DJ Rosenbaum, Campus Education Coordinator at the Safe Center, Long Island. DJ, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Good morning, and thank you for having me in.
Thank you for taking the time.
Now, DJ, you have to tell us, I had never heard of this before today. What is the Safe Center Long Island, and how did it start and come about?
Well, the Safe Center Long Island is a nonprofit agency. We're located in Bethpage, and we work with survivors of, as you said, Corey, domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, and also human trafficking. We're the combination of two agencies that coexisted on Long Island with very similar goals. That was the Nassau County Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Nassau County Coalition Against Child Abuse and Neglect. We came together several years ago, and now we're one big, wonderful agency that provides a host of services to survivors and also to their non-offending family members.
Great. Could you tell me a little bit about those services?
Yes, absolutely. We have advocacy services that we provide, and that can look like someone responding to the hospital when someone presents with sexual assault or domestic violence, injuries or other. We also provide advocates who go to court with folks who are the victims of a crime or perhaps are appearing in family court or matrimonial court. Our advocates also work with victims and their families to navigate the maze of victim services in New York State. It can be pretty confusing. We also have counselors on staff that provide individual and group counseling to survivors and their family members, or non-offending family members, I should say, in a host of different settings. There are specialized groups as well. And we also come to the college campuses in Nassau County and provide counseling with regard to college students who are survivors. I should also add that we provide legal services. We run a 24-hour hotline, and we also run a safe house for people who are fleeing violence. And that safe house is in Nassau County, but of course in a secret location that I can't disclose. And everything, let me just add, that we do with survivors is free and is also confidential.
Wow. So you have it's not only just a center, you got people like on the ground, like.
Oh yeah, we're out in the field constantly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you want to give out that hotline number?
Yes, absolutely. So the hotline number at the Safe Center is 516-542-0404. And again, that's 516-542-0404. It is manned 24/7. 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas, someone will answer that phone.
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Wow.
That's really great to know, because I'm sure part of it is just knowing that there's someone there for the victim that they can call and talk to and let it out, rather than keeping it in or saying, well, I have to accept this, I have no choice, or I don't have a lot of money, or I just have enough to get by, or my spouse, whether that's the man or the woman, controls the money, so I'm helpless. They know they have someone there in your role that can help them and do something for them, and it's all confidential.
Yes, absolutely. And anonymous, by the way, too, when you call that hotline. You know, one of the biggest factors that makes it difficult for folks to come forward and get help is isolation, because sometimes when we're talking about interpersonal domestic violence or sexual violence, the person who's experienced that feels isolated, often is isolated, and that means they have no support system. Well, well. They do have a support system, and that's a hotline. The person at the other end is a human being who's been trained in crisis intervention and is there to listen and to help.
That's interesting you say that, because from what I've learned on TV, a lot of times the other party is very controlling, and they've cut off the victim from either family or friends or a great deal of outside contact.
Yeah.
So who do they have to go to? The abuser is the only person that's really close to them in their life, or maybe a child or something, which really shouldn't be involved in this. So at least they can come to you. They've got that, and they've got the legal people. They've got the right people to talk to who know this field. And I think you said no cost. They don't have to worry about that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Sometimes, along with that isolation, we're dealing with folks who don't have access to any type of money. Because that's another thing that folks need when they're trying to get out of an abusive relationship, right? A support system.
Absolutely.
And also money, even to maybe call a cab in the middle of the night and get out of there. But you don't need any money if you call the Safe Center.
And this is so important, because I think, unfortunately, someone's going to hear this show and say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. And 3 days later, they're going to hear about a coworker or a relative, or their daughter is going to come home with a black eye, and they're going to realize that, wait a minute, it does. What was that number from the other day? So if you're listening as DJ Rosenbaum talks about this, take down the information. Just keep it on a piece of paper. It will come up. Someone's going to mention it to you, and you can do a great, good deed just by sending them in the right direction to the Safe House here on Long Island. What are the goals of the Safe House?
The Safe House is a safe and confidential place that people who are fleeing violence, whether it be domestic or interpersonal violence or a sexual violence incident, can go. We not only house the survivor of that type of trauma, but also their children. We also have a special relationship with the SPCA, so we have a safe place for the family pets while folks who are fleeing this type of violence. We do.
Really very
Look
important.
This is a real issue that sometimes people cannot leave the home because they don't want to abandon their pet. And by the way, folks that are involved in domestic violence tell us about 70% of the time that their pets are being abused as well. So the pets are being abused not because the perpetrator is trying to, exercise power and control over the pet, but because that's used as a punishment or a way of bringing the abused partner in line.
Wow, I'm learning so much about this guy. I had no idea about that.
Well, really, think about it. Think about someone who's being abused who doesn't want to leave the home, because what do you do with the kids, right? And so we'll house the children as well. But then what about that person that says, I can't leave that home because I can't leave the dog behind, right? Or the cat behind, or whatever. And we'll help with that too.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about the Safe Center, Long Island, with Campus Education Coordinator DJ Rosenbaum.
DJ, let me just go a little further. If we weren't talking about this now, how would I know about the Safe Center on Long Island? How do you reach out to the community and get the word out there?
Well, we're constantly trying to do that. So we have not only advocates, attorneys, counselors, crisis intervention folks, we also have educators on staff. I'm one of them. And we spend a great deal of time out in the community educating folks on all of these different types of topics, letting them know what's out there. We have printed information that we put out there as well. We're in schools. We're at houses of worship. We're in clubs and organizations. Folks can call the Safe Center and find out, what we can offer with regard to education. Not just what I do, which is campus education, which is a different thing under a very specific New York State law. But our educators go out and table at different gatherings and events. We want people to know that we're there, we're an option, we're a resource, and that we're there to help in any way we can.
And the correct title is the Safe Center Long Island, is that correct?
It's actually the Safe Center LI.
LI.
But if you throw in the Safe Center, Nassau County, the Safe Center, New York, or anything like that in a Google search, you'll find us.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right. So even in the 10 minutes that we've been doing this, I've learned tragically, I've learned more about sexual assault and these kinds of abuse than I've ever learned in my years in public schooling.
Yikes!
I feel like there's not comprehensive education on this subject. So, just for the people at home, like, can you just give us like some statistics? Just give us like an overview of like how serious is this epidemic?
Well, when we talk about sexual violence, we talk about something that people don't want to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. Folks don't want to report sexual violence. People are afraid that they won't be believed. People are afraid that they'll be blamed. And so it's a real problem when we try to confront the epidemic that we're looking at. I'll give you some numbers. 1 in 5 women in the United States will be the victim of a rape or an attempted rape in her lifetime. 1 in 5. Imagine that. Yeah. So 1 in 33 men will also be the victim of a rape or an attempted rape. Right? So 1 in 5 women, 1 in 33 men. But now when we talk about sexual violence, we're not just talking about rape. I mean, that's what we think about when we say, sexual assault. But there are a host of other things that can happen that are sexual violence that aren't that act of, sexual intercourse, right? Including grabbing, touching, fondling, oral types of sexual conduct, anal types of sexual conduct. All of those things fall under sexual assault. So remember the numbers I just gave you? Yeah. So 1 in 4 women
will experience
sexual
one of those
assault. Yep, which includes rape, right? So 1 in 4. For men, 1 in 7.
That's really shocking. Yeah. How do you go around at schools, PTAs, etc., and give talks? Like, how does that message get out to people? Because, like Corey said, he hadn't heard of it. I hadn't heard of it, the Safe Center. Maybe it's a good thing because we didn't have a need for it per se, but we do want to know about it so we can advise others, and if someone crosses our path. How does the message get out? Is it by local talks, etc.?
Sure, and it depends on the audience, and it depends on the message we're trying to talk about. We have an Enough Abuse campaign that attempts to educate every single person in New York State. Wouldn't that be wonderful? On what to look for when we're talking about child abuse and child abuse perpetration. So that's one targeted audience. We have educators that go out to our high schools and talk to students there about dating violence and sexual violence. We have one section, that's me, that goes out to the college campuses, and I provide education and training on sexual violence, interpersonal violence, and stalking on our college campuses to our college students and also faculty and staff. But the focus is on the college campuses under a law in New York State called the Enough is Enough law.
Okay.
I remember when I first applied here for Nassau Community College, I had to take like an online seminar about that.
Sure.
Enough is Enough, it was called. Like I said, it's honestly tragic and a little infuriating that there isn't enough like education like within a curriculum, like within some sort of sex ed curriculum that talks about like dating violence and being able to tell the signs if you're in like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, and I have to say that I do go into a lot of different classrooms in our different colleges and universities in Nassau County, and I do exactly that.
Yeah.
I give presentations. Anytime a professor asks me to do it, I'll come in and I'll talk to the classes about these issues. I talk to larger groups of students in workshops, and sometimes I'm there during orientation or onboarding, or when student leaders require training because they have to receive this type of training. On a yearly basis, athletes have to receive this type of training on a yearly basis. And so I go in, or someone from the schools go in and give this type of information and education to students. And yet still we know that sometimes it goes in one ear, right? Out the other.
Yeah.
And really, what can we do to make people understand that this problem is sometimes overlooked because people don't want to talk about it because it's that painful?
What do you think it's like in one ear, out the other. People. Is it like a problem? Like, why is this lady like coming in and telling me what to do?
Yeah,
like, I feel like
sometimes. Yeah.
I was a teenage boy at one point. We're all very stubborn.
Yeah. It's hard to get college students to listen and high school students to listen. I usually travel with candy.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes
that helps.
That helps. I would have offered you guys some today, but I gave a bag to a group of college students the other day, and I never got the bag back.
Well,
so.
It worked. It worked. You got them interested.
There's a lot of candy in there, I got to say.
DJ, we want to find out more, but at this point in the show, it's time for a brief break. My name is Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, and today we're talking about the Safe Center Long Island with Campus Education Coordinator DJ Rosenbaum. You're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
And now we return to My Hometown.
Thanks for being with us here today on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman, and today we're talking about the Safe Center Long Island with Campus Education Coordinator DJ Rosenbaum. Corey?
So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So let's tell us a little bit about what are the dynamics of domestic violence. And first, can you just define for the people listening what exactly domestic violence is?
Sure, and there's a very specific definition. So it goes like this. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior used by one partner to gain and maintain power and control over another. A pattern of abusive behavior used to gain and maintain power and control. That's it. It's not out of control anger. It's not the person that's angry at everybody. It's not that person who's violent all the time to everyone. This isn't the person who punches the bus driver in the face because the bus was late, right? Yeah. This is a pattern of abusive behavior used to gain and maintain power and control over another person. And by the way, it's not just for intimate or romantic partners, but it also happens within families.
Right.
Like it's a parent-child, grandparent-grandchild. When we talk about it, we're usually talking about romantic relationships.
Right. It's a tool.
It is a tool. Yes.
This can transcend. Doesn't matter what the relationship is, whether it's a man and a woman, two men, two women. It's just like this is something that affects everyone. Yeah, I'll
tell you some statistics, right?
Please.
So 1 in 4 women will be the victim of domestic violence, and 1 in 7 men.
Yeah.
2 in 5 lesbians, 1 in 4 gay men, 2 in 5 black women, 1 in 5 Latinos. So domestic violence, which is, that thing we don't talk about, the thing that happens behind closed doors, right? That private family thing is everywhere. And no one is unaffected. No category of anybody anywhere is unaffected.
DJ, just doing some quick math sitting here, I'm picturing looking up and down my block, typical Long Island residential block, but just to bring the statistics out, if I look to the left side, which would be the east, or the opposite side, the west, someone on each side of my block is experiencing domestic violence in one sense or another.
Definitely a possibility, yeah.
Absolutely.
By the numbers, of course. There could be 20 in one house and none for the next whole 10 blocks.
Yeah.
Sure.
But just by the numbers. We want people to know if what you're hearing today is impressing you and you want to share it with some friends, you can listen to a podcast of the show by going to nccradio.org. Just look for My Hometown and then the Safe House, Long Island. Safe Center, Long Island.
Yes.
And your friends can hear it if you're a member of a club or a group that you want to hear it, or your church group. And so we don't forget at the end of the show, can you give us that key information? Someone wants to get in touch. If they didn't hear it earlier, there's no charge. You're open 24/7, every day, all around the clock. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so that hotline number is 516-542-0404.
And remember, someone on your block, someone you work with, that little kid who you think is a little kid coming home from school and maybe looks a little worried, it's good to keep this information just someplace handy that you could advise or pass it on to people to know about, because it's wonderful that it's so free and so accessible. There's no charge, because I think that's where the victim often might think, well, wait, I don't have money, or I only have limited resources. How do I have any power to do anything? And you're there for them, and you've got the professionals.
Right, exactly that.
Now, what's the real difference between, how would you tell someone a healthy and unhealthy relationship?
Yeah, so, there are some characteristics that we talk about. A healthy relationship is a wonderful thing, right? I hope everybody listening is having a healthy relationship, or will
Corey
have a healthy
relationship. Very healthy relationship.
Yes, I've noticed that, and that's wonderful, and that's because you mutually respect each other.
We do.
Right? You trust each other.
Yep.
Honest with each other. You understand.
I get the cookies first. I don't always tell him, but that's okay. Other than that.
But would you compromise if he really needed to go first?
Sure.
Yeah. Everybody's an individual in a healthy relationship. Everybody communicates well, and is open to communication. And folks who get angry, and it's normal to get angry, and it's okay to get angry, but folks in a healthy relationship can control that anger in a respectful way and engage in something we call fair fighting, where it's okay to voice your anger. It's okay to raise your voice. But it's not okay to hurt, because words don't ever go away. So those are just some of the characteristics you would expect in a healthy relationship.
Wow. So you are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about Safe Center Long Island with Campus Education Coordinator DJ Rosenbaum. So you told us a little bit about the signs that you can identify if you're in a abusive relationship, but what can people do if they suspect someone that they know, like a classmate or a neighbor or a colleague? What can they do if they suspect that someone they know is in an abusive relationship?
So that's a really difficult thing, because I can tell you that it's not something that folks readily talk about if they're being victimized, and it's not something that folks generally say, yes, you're right, I'm being abused. So the first thing I would say to people is to watch out for red flags. There are all different kinds of abuse. We know there's emotional abuse, there's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's financial abuse. Sometimes they're all rolled up into one. If you expect that, if you suspect that a friend is being abused, you can try to talk to them, but don't talk to them on the offensive. And when I say on the offensive, I mean don't immediately go there.
Right.
Don't say, hey, you're being abused and you need to leave that person. Because I guarantee you, if you start the conversation off that way, then your friend will shut down. Start out gently. Let them know what you're observing. Let them know that you care. And let them know that you're there for them. And be mindful of the fact that this may not be the only conversation you have to have, because it may take a while for your friend to feel able to talk about what might really be going on behind those closed doors.
It's very hard to be vulnerable, especially if it's something like this.
Yeah, especially if they're worried and afraid that something bad is going to happen if they disclose to somebody, because they've probably been told that is indeed what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Corey and DJ, as I'm listening to our questions and answers going back and forth, I can't help but think how empowering you must be to these people who feel like they have nothing going for them. The wife who says, wait, I can't leave 3 kids, I'm in the house, and what happens if the husband who says, wait, I'm a man, I'm not supposed to say this, and yet I feel like I'm getting smacked around, whatever. Mm-hmm. You're there for them. You can talk to them about it. You can tell them about resources. It's all free, and we can't emphasize that enough. It's right here on Long Island, and it's private. It's confidential. Yeah. Nothing is being let out to people about it. And you have attorneys and professional people who can help you. So, I mean, this is right there. Once you know about this now, and again, it may be your sister, it may be your child someday, it's important to get this information down. What are some of the other resources statewide that are available to people?
Wow. Well, there are a lot, and I've got to say that I, personally think that the Safe Center is like the most amazing agency, and it's really just so impactful to folks here on Long Island. But, everywhere you go, there are agencies similar. There are so many resources for folks if they're looking for them. So first of all, there's the National Domestic Violence Hotline that people can call. That's 1-800-799-7233, 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE, right? On campus here at Nassau Community College, if someone is being abused or the victim of sexual violence, they can call public safety. Mm-hmm. Public safety's number is 572-7100. And they know how to respond. There's a psychological counseling center right here on campus. If someone is a survivor or is experiencing abuse currently, they can go there and get some help. All those services are offered at no cost as well. They're in Nassau Hall, room 9. Their number is 572-7698. That's 572-7698. And folks on campus should also remember that if anything is happening like this to them on campus, they can go to their Title IX coordinator because they have protections not only under New York State's Enough is Enough law, but the federal Title IX laws that require that the schools keep folks safe and respond when something like this happens. And so that can happen too, a Title IX complaint, and that is through the Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Affirmative Action here on Nassau Community College.
So any school, if the person is part of a college, a high school, I guess a trade school or anything, there's someone there or should be for them that they can speak to or at least get directed to either get to you or one of the other organizations that you mentioned.
Absolutely. Right. And the offender does not have to be part of that college community. Only the victim. So the offender can be a fellow student, a professor, a staff member, someone visiting the campus, a complete stranger who's come on campus. And by the way, the Safe Center provides services to students on college campuses even when the offense didn't occur on a campus or even recently. If someone was victimized when they were a child and now they're a college student and they need help processing still that trauma, we can help with that.
Before we wrap up, finally, just give us that phone number once again.
Sure, it's 516-542-0404.
Very important show, and if you didn't get enough of it, you can go to nccradio.org, look under My Hometown and the Safe Center Long Island. We want to thank DJ Rosenbaum, Campus Education Coordinator at the Safe Center of Long Island in Bethpage. DJ, thank you so much for the information.
My pleasure.
And I'd like to remind our listeners that you've been listening to Bill Horan along with Corey Kaufman. And thanks for listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
We'd like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC at ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.